We are joined now by Shea Dixon of On3's The Bengal Tiger. Shea, the news in Baton Rouge is obviously Jayden Daniels takes the big hit from Dallas Turner, goes out during the Alabama game. What is his situation heading into the Florida game?
Yeah, we've got some confirmation, at least, of how things have played out. He was and is, I guess, in concussion protocol. That was not made kind of firm, or at least Brian Kelly didn't say that until we met with him on Monday or Wednesday, I believe. I think Wednesday is when he said it was actual concussion protocol. Might have been Monday, but he had to go through a number of tests. Monday, they don't practice. So he went through tests then. Tuesday morning, he did not practice on Tuesday, but was out there. Brian Kelly said he was doing sprints, hit 20 miles an hour on sprints, and cleared that next round of protocol. So they said that if all was good on Thursday, then he would be cleared for full contact practice. Then obviously Friday's a walkthrough. Saturday, you've got the game. And Brian Kelly said at that point, they would just decide, okay, is Jayden really ready? If he is, he's going. If not, we're turning to Nussmeier. So it's been one of those weeks where Nussmeier's gotten a lot of reps. And naturally, we went into the season, Andy, saying, hey, LSU might have the best 1-2 punch in the conference or in the country at quarterback in terms of readiness of guys who could go in and continue to play well. I think that we'll see this weekend. I'm still leaning towards Jayden Daniels playing, especially if the signs, as Brian Kelly said, each week have been he passed the test. Now he's back at practice on Wednesday. Now he may be full contact Thursday. But there is still that outside shot that we see Nussmeier this weekend.
Well, and if Jayden Daniels is passing the test, I would imagine he probably wants to play. This is a guy who, if he keeps putting up these ridiculous video game numbers, he's going to New York. The question is whether he wins the Heisman or not.
I would think that if there's any shot that they clear him to play, he's out there. He's not sitting for draft purposes or anything like that. Remember, this is a kid who he's put on weight now, but boy, he takes some hits as a skinny quarterback, and he has never missed a start. He was the first freshman ever to start a season opener at Arizona State. Started all those years. Obviously, one was a COVID-shortened season, but now has started every game since he's been at LSU, even playing through injury. You remember a year ago, Arkansas, he was injured. A&M, he was injured. By Georgia at halftime, he had to leave the game because he couldn't even walk anymore. And Nussmeier came in and lit it up in the second half. But if he's cleared for concussion protocol, he will be out there. I have no doubt about it.
So you mentioned Garrett Nussmeier coming into the SEC championship game last year. We've seen him a little bit this year. Saw him, replace Daniels in the Alabama game last week. What can you expect from the offense if it's Garrett Nussmeier?
It's a bit different of an offense, right? Because Jayden Daniels leads the nation in total yardage, and in a large part, not just because he's a great passer, but he has rushed for the second most yards by any quarterback in the country behind BC's Thomas Castellanos. So it's one of those things where that dual threat ability changes LSU's offense completely and makes them currently still the number one offense in college football. When Nussmeier is out there, he's not going to be running it all over the field. So you lean more on the ground game with Logan Diggs and company, but they trust Nussmeier to throw the football, and we've seen it. He can sling it, and the deep ball is kind of the sexy thing that Nussmeier gets out there and does that LSU fans love, but Jayden's been very good at that this year.
I was going to say, they've seen a lot of deep balls this year.
I don't think they'll miss a beat there, and it's more probably about, is Nussmeier rattled by the moment or is he good to go? And while he doesn't have any college starts, remember, he's in year 3. He grew up with a dad who coached college and NFL, and he's talked about it plenty. He said, I've spent my whole life in locker rooms. Like, I'm ready for these moments. And he stayed at LSU for a reason. A lot of teams would have taken him out of the portal a year ago. He didn't go in. So he knew he was waiting behind Jayden Daniels. Next year, he would take the reins. But if this moment ever came where Jayden got banged up, they fully trusted him to go out there and execute with this offense. So I would think that they have full faith in Garrett Nussmeier being out there. The product will look different, but I think that they can still get some nice execution out of it.
Well, and if we want to talk subplots, the possibility of the son of a Jim McElwain era Florida offensive coordinator playing as Florida is its own wonderful subplot. But these are going to be two of the worst defenses in the SEC, if not the country, playing each other. How much scoring is there going to be, regardless of whether Daniels plays? Like, how much scoring is there just going to be, period?
Well, LSU is still the only team that's hit the over in every single game they've played this season. So no matter how that line just keeps creeping up, somehow LSU finds a way to hit it. So yes, this could be a weekend where we see a good amount of scoring, considered that very quietly, not on your show, but maybe nationally, Graham Mertz has played well. I know Florida's run game isn't as far along as they wished it would be at this point with Etienne and then obviously Montreal Johnson, but I do think this is one where we see some points, whether it is Daniels or Nussmeier, just because of how these defenses played. And I'll add to your Nussmeier subplot there, and everyone knows this, but worth mentioning, this is a Billy Napier staff, really, that is coming back to Louisiana after having success with the Raging Cajuns. Napier talked about that. I asked him this week on the SEC Coaches Teleconference, and he said, look, we've got a lot of guys on this team. Their two starting running backs, Montreal Johnson and Trevor Etienne, are from Louisiana. They've got other guys on the team from Louisiana that they brought from UL. And then a lot of guys on this staff, just look at it. Their O-line coach, Rob Sale, their DB coach, Corey Raymond, those guys played at LSU. So this holds a lot of sort of subplots that it brings with it into it.
Well, and yeah, Kyron Lacey, LSU receiver, played for Billy Napier at Lafayette. So it is.
And there were a lot of LSU fans who wanted Billy Napier to be the hire.
Yep. And a lot of Florida fans who, when Billy Napier got hired, were like, wait a second, Brian Kelly was available.
Yes, correct. So yes, this has a lot of storylines going into it.
Yeah. It's been one of the weirder rivalries, period. Like going back to games rescheduled because of hurricanes and, Florida having to go to LSU in 2016 and then winning when they probably shouldn't have been able to. And then LSU having to play in Gainesville twice. Like, there's always something with this game.
The shoe toss.
The shoe.
A fake field goals during the Les era. This is truly LSU Auburn has always been that kind of series where you're like, man, expect the unexpected. But LSU Florida is and this is what kind of stinks, right? With as we lose the East and West and we figure out the future of the SEC, LSU Florida is a staple. We get it every year. And we've got the, Jacob Hester years of all those fourth down runs. We've got the Tim Tebow years where they got his cell phone number and he beat him in Tiger Stadium and was mocking.
Oh, he didn't beat them. And they got his cell phone number and then he was leading and then Jacob Hester went crazy.
I remember a time where Brandon Spikes picked off Jarrett Lee and then punted the ball into the stands and maybe even out of the stadium. There is no love lost between these two programs.
Early Doucette hit by Riley Cooper, getting a kickoff return for the easiest Florida touchdown you ever saw. It's crazy. And it's an old rivalry. It goes back into the 60s. Like Steve Spurrier played against LSU every year he played.
The Brad Wing fake punt taunt that got called back when he pulled it on Florida. So truly, I think this is one of those games where you say throw the records out the window. Anything can happen between these two teams.
So I have a theory I want to run by you because you've seen all these games. Florida, a significant segment of the Florida fan base believes they have been cursed since the Marco Wilson shoe throw in the 2020 LSU game. Do you think if there's a scenario where, say, I don't know, maybe Logan Diggs is running the ball, somebody tries to tackle him, accidentally pulls his shoe off, and it flies, 5 yards from him. If a Florida defender were to pick up an LSU player's shoe and bring it back to him, would that break the curse?
That could be one of those things, right? You have to at some point reverse it, and that could be the only way. So maybe that's the goal. Hey, guys, get in those piles, rip off a shoe, and give it right back to him, and let's see if that isn't
like
that.
Get down on one knee and hand it to him like you're proposing.
Absolutely. Yes, I think that they'll try anything. I think it's funny, too. I've had Florida fans texting me this week, 52-10, 45-0. I said, man, y'all are so down on the Gators right now. I think this is going to be a really good game. I know the line's at 14. We don't really know what's up with Jayden Daniels for sure. But yes, LSU's got the best offense in the country. This Florida LSU game for me is so unpredictable every year. Even Burrow lost to Florida in 18 when he was
Yeah.
on the roster. So boy, buckle in. Saturday night in Death Valley with these two teams for the final time as the East-West divisional rival opponent. I think will be a lot of fun, and it's sold out. They've already confirmed it is a
There you
sellout
go.
crowd.
Well, you're right. There's going to be a lot of scoring because if you look at what Florida's done against South Carolina's defense, against Arkansas's defense, like they moved the ball up and down the field on those teams. No, they didn't score on Georgia, but that's Georgia. So, like, the way LSU's
LSU's
played
D ain't
defense,
Georgia's.
yeah, Florida's going to move the ball. And so, yeah, I think who plays quarterback for LSU probably is of great interest, probably to the gambling public, though I would suggest to those folks probably still take the over.
Take your team total overs, take the total over, take it all. I'm not sure how much defense we're going to see this weekend. I say this, Andy, if we have made it into almost mid-November and the defenses looked about the same as they did when things kicked off September 1st or 2nd or whenever that was, I don't expect many, wholesale changes. So this will be an offense game for sure.
How much heat is there on Matt House, the LSU defensive coordinator locally?
A lot. I mean, I think that LSU fans feel as if they view it as we've lived through the less years, for instance. Now you've given us the number one offense in college football, a quarterback who has more total yards than anyone in college football, who is somehow still in the Heisman race with 3 losses. And all 3 of those losses, really, they all came on the road, but are on the hands of the defense. They lost to Florida State in week 1. Yes, the offense didn't do a ton after halftime. They only scored once more. But LSU in those 3 games, Andy, combined for 101 points on offense. Their 3 road losses. That was to Bama, Ole Miss, and Florida State. That's about 33, 34 points a game.
Yeah.
Right now, that's
and would have scored more had Daniels not gone out.
Fifth in the SEC above Missouri in average points per game. So, like, in their losses, they averaged a top 4 scoring effort in the SEC and still lost. I think the one that stings the most is Ole Miss. You can't go up in a road game at night in Oxford to an Ole Miss team that's hot, that's now in the top 10, and put up 650 plus yards of offense, score 49 points, and you lose. How does that happen? So for me, I think that about sums up how LSU fans feel about the defensive effort this year.
That is when you just say the numbers out loud, it's shocking. And really, 2019, we kind of look at it as its own thing, like its own special, everything came together. But I think about all the years that LSU fans were so frustrated that they had a great defense and an offense that was not dynamic enough. This is similar to Iowa fans right now. And this is the offense those people always wanted. And it looks like it's something that could continue. It doesn't, maybe it's because of Jayden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, but LSU's always got really good players. So you think it could keep going, but you got to put a defense with it at some point.
Yeah, I think they want to get back to look. The reality is when Brian Kelly took over this program, it was a major rebuild. They had 38 scholarship players. And in year 1, winning the West, it certainly over exceeded any expectations. And maybe that made us think, okay, LSU might be a little bit better or further along than they really actually are in this rebuild. The offense is there. The defense still needs to be rebuilt. And they went heavy in the portal 2 years in a row, and it's paid off in spots, and in others it hasn't. And what Brian Kelly said is, we've got to get back to high school recruiting and developing. That's what LSU's bread and butter is. When we've talked about DBU and these great defenses, they were never transfers. They were guys that LSU went out and signed, got from Louisiana, got from East Texas, dipped into Georgia and got maybe some Florida kids, and they developed them and they became really elite defenses. So that's what you're yearning for and searching for again as an LSU fan. And I think Brian Kelly, a guy who's been around 30 plus years as a head coach, if we can see it, he sees it. So he'll have a plan in place of how they can continue to make strides on that side. It's just that sour taste of, man, you've got the number 1 offense in the country. If you could give me the number 60 defense, this team might be undefeated right now. But you've got the number 100 and whatever ranked defense, and you've never climbed out of it since that week 1 showing against Florida State. That's been the issue. So It's not a fix this year. LSU's offense is going to need to keep carrying them. And as Brian Kelly said, how paramount it is, win out. And that means beating Florida, beating Georgia State, beating A&M, and putting yourself in position 9-3 to get to 10 wins, because people will forget, Andy, when he took this program over, 38 scholarship players, but they were coming off back-to-back 500 regular seasons. That's not the norm down here. In fact, that losing season, they got Ed Orgeron fired. They lost the bowl game when they had to start a wide receiver at quarterback, was the first losing season since DiNardo. That was 1999. So to go potentially follow that up with 2 back-to-back 10-win seasons, and in one of those you win the West. Oh, and in another, you'll have the number 1 offense in college football. Any LSU fan would have taken that. It's just you gave me the number 1 offense in college football, but also the defense is the worst in college football. So everything went out the window.
Well, it's not getting fixed by Saturday. Florida's is not getting fixed by Saturday. So everybody take the over and just sit back and enjoy all the points. Shea Dixon, thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.